What up, y'all? This is Jamba back with another video. No, I do not have the sunglasses on. They will be back though. Just not today. I wasn't feeling it today. What I do have here is another video by Jenner. I'm his biggest fan on these YouTube streets, and he has a pretty I like this title: "Why Men Don't Approach Women Anymore." This is a topic I've touched on obviously quite a bit with the whole approaching thing. I'm somebody who has approached women in the past pretty often. And I think I've talked about how difficult it can be, you know. But I would love to hear what his take is. I think that according to my little research that I've done or that I've read, most men are not approaching women in the outdoors and like in actual public nearly like they used to. It's mainly gone to obviously online, sliding into DMs, dating apps and things of this nature. And I think that some women may prefer that, not being approached in person. Some women might find it's creepy or weird or awkward, but then there's some women who want men to approach them, but at the same time, it's a certain type of man that they want to be approached by, not just any type of man, right? So, but let's see what this guy has to say. All right.
Saw a centaur princess today at the gym, frolicking about the dumbbell.
He like starts like right when the video begins.
I saw a centaur princess today at the gym, frolicking about the dumbbells and the bench presses, and I was very overtaken by her beauty. I had my money bag yo going and took my headphones off, and I was like, that is my type of woman, man. She had those like dark eyebrows. She's tall. She had a tight ponytail. That's like my type. I like tall white women with dark features, like dark eyebrows, dark hair. And she was really good looking. And we kind of like started kind of exchanging some glances. I smiled.
I love how unapologetically Jenner is like such like an unapologetically white guy. Like he talks about how his channel is primarily for white guys, how white guys are being disenfranchised, and he talks about his preference. Like he likes some white women, and I part of me, respects that in a weird way, but I know this guy probably isn't like a racist dude, but I admire that he's so honest about his shit, right? Oddly. And yeah, this guy being a pretty decent looking white dude, I'm assuming that this interaction probably went well.
I was dark hair, and she was really good looking. And we kind of like started kind of exchanging some glances. I smiled at her. She smiled back. Things were looking pretty good, and I knew like I had to go talk to her. I had to say something. And then I realized that she was like filming her workout. She had her like phone propped up on one of those little, I don't even know what you call it, I guess like a tripod for your iPhone. And she was filming herself doing like lateral raises. And I was like, I'll just wait for a little while. I'll go talk to her later.
Yeah.
Kind of playing games with myself, trying to avoid the scary.
It's already a wrap. It's already a wrap. And once you place that down in your head, and you're like, oh, I'll wait until she's done with this set or blah 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 blah, and then you're gonna start to create more reasons as to why you shouldn't approach her in her head. And then by the time you finally muster up the courage, she's already out the fucking door. And then if you try to follow her, now you look weird. It's these approaching scenarios, like you have like a very relatively small window, and if you don't kind of fire in that window, you're pretty much out the game, even if you're a decent looking dude.
Feeling of going up and approaching the girl, because there was like people around. It's a pretty busy gym that I go to.
Now, if you're building
Oh,
wireframes, the words you write for the content
What
is of
wireframes?
utmost
What is
importance.
this?
And
And that's another thing too. When you see an attractive woman and you're in an environment where there's a bunch of people, it makes it that much harder for you to approach, because it's kind of like you're putting yourself out there, not even in front of just that girl, but in front of all the people who are around, especially in an environment where you're there often. So these are often guys, um, and girls, but just people that you're probably going to see on a weekly basis. So if you approach a woman and it's an awkward exchange, then it makes it a little bit awkward for you whenever you encounter the other people who might have seen or was like around. So it just makes the whole situation like it just makes you as a guy less likely to want to approach, especially in a context like a gym. Like that's, you know, one of the worst. I shouldn't say it's one of the worst places. It's ideally should be one of the best places to approach, but because of that, it has now become one of the worst places in a odd way.
I had this like terrible thought of like, what if I
Yep.
like go make a
The thoughts. Yeah.
move and she's filming, and then like I go viral on like TikTok or something as like a creepy guy
Mhm.
that goes and approaches some random chick at the gym. So I was like, I have to wait till she puts her phone up, and I kind of like sat
He's not going to put the phone up though.
and thought on it, and I ended up folding like a lawn chair. I did not talk to
Yep.
her.
Exactly what I look, man. I know my shit sometimes, y'all. I know my shit. Sometimes I do.
I was kind of a pussy. But I think that like a lot of guys have to kind of be careful approaching women now
I
because
wouldn't say that you're, and I'm gonna keep playing it, y'all. Don't worry. I wouldn't say that you're a pussy. You thought about the pros and the cons. You thought about the possibilities, and you decided to not. You decided that it wasn't worth it.
it's not like it was, 50 years ago or just historically before social media and stuff. You do kind of run the risk of like putting yourself in harm's way almost, because socially now it's seen as like such a terrible thing to make anybody the slightest bit uncomfortable. And I'm sure like if I would have approached her, like it would have been fine. Maybe she
Probably.
wouldn't have been interested. Maybe she would have. Maybe she's got a boyfriend. Maybe she's, I don't know, gay or something. I'll never know because I was too much of a pansy and I didn't actually go up and talk to her. And now I have to sit in this, feeling like a little biatch, beta, cucked boy. But the truth is, it is kind of like a whole nother level of risk for young guys approaching women now. Because I think the worst case scenario that would happen like a couple decades ago, even, is like the girl's maybe just like a crazy person. She's like, no, I'm not, like, kind of makes you feel like a dick and like is super rude to you. But nowadays, if you're like approaching a girl at the gym or something, you kind of run that risk of like exposing yourself to being a pariah. Like people will literally say like never approach girls at the gym. Oh, don't try to use church as like a dating ground. Like don't approach girls at church.
Yeah, it's like now it's like what's kind of happening is in an effort to make women as comfortable as possible. Now everything is kind of similar to the whole no going to Cheesecake Factory. Like when women put out a list of the things that we shouldn't as a man take women to, like Cheesecake Factory is on there, like bowling and movies and my house and stuff like that, right? It's like now when it comes to where it's appropriate to approach women, it's seemingly the list is kind of dwindling because a lot of the times women don't want to be approached in these certain environments, whether it's the gym. It's like, hey, like I'm at the gym, like I'm just going in to work out and I'm not, maybe I'm not necessarily looking or feeling like my best. And I just want to go there, go to the gym, not have to worry about creepy dudes trying to pick up on me or try to stare at me or whatever, even though I have like these tights on. And but let me just not, let me not go there. But you have that. I saw an article recently. I didn't see an article. I somebody shared to me an article, or maybe it was like a Reddit post or something, to where this woman was asking tech guys not to go to these dance classes to meet women. And I'll have to like maybe one day I'll like find it and read it, and it'll be my first article, because I usually just respond to videos. And he just mentioned church, like, whether it's church, in class, or at the mall. It's like where is these places, these open, I mean, besides the club. And I think the club is probably one of the worst places to try to connect with a woman. I mean, it's loud, it's crowded, there's alcohol involved and all that. So it just seems like, that there isn't really anywhere a friendly place where it's okay for a young man to go up and approach a woman, right? At least that's what a lot of men are feeling, right?
And it's gotten to the point now where the only acceptable way to talk to girls is if you have like a warm lead, like a dating app. If a girl likes you on a dating app,
dating apps are horrible.
Nobody's gonna say like it's weird to like message her and try to set up a date. But that's not actually natural. Like we're not made to be filtering through people on a sheer looks basis on Hinge or Tinder. Humans are meant to have relationships and develop relationships in person. We're meant to be interactive and social in person. And I think that the reason why things are kind of skewed now is mostly because of dating apps. I think that every other form of like meeting a girl now is seen as like weird by society, and you
Yeah, I'm gonna let him continue, but I think the fundamental reason is because like I have a friend of mine who very attractive woman. She's in a relationship right now. She might be watching this. But she actually, whether she wants to admit it or not, she actually preferred back when she was single, meeting a guy online because she can simply see through his pictures how attractive he is. She can see through his connections, maybe how popular or maybe popular is not the right word, but but where, like what he does, right? Because more or less, if whether it's via Instagram or via dating app, you're going to put on there, like a semblance of what it is that you do or what industry that you're in, whether you're an athlete or an architect or, whatever, right? So I think that a lot of women actually do prefer meeting online because it gives you exactly what you want, like how this guy looks and where his, you know, just the blank stats, and it just kind of shows in a safe way. When I'm saying a safe way, it's like they don't have to interact with these men in person, whereas out in the real world, you know a guy who they probably will find as unattractive approaching them more often than not, it's like that can maybe grow annoying for some women, or that can kind of grow tedious, or some women might not feel super safe, actually trying to meet men in the real world. So if they can meet that, men and filter, because that's what it really is. It's a big these dating apps are just a big filtration system. So it's like, okay, I'm on Hinge. If I want a tall guy, if I want a guy who's 6'2", I could just go on the little Hinge preferences and put that I don't want to see any men under the height of 6'2". So that automatically eliminates about 95% of men, and I can just deal with the rest of the 5% that I want to actually engage with, just off their height, and then I can go from there. So, ladies, I'm not saying this is all of you guys, or even really most, but I do think it's a large contingent who, it's like, this in-person shit, it seems to be very much inconvenient for you, and men are starting to feel it, and we're starting to feel those vibes, and this is preventing a lot of men from wanting to even approach, or you know sadly. So ideally it'll be better in person, but dating apps has streamlined everything so well that I think a lot of women have become used to that way of vetting for a partner.
hear different women like, oh, you should never approach a girl at the gym, you should never approach a girl at church, you should never where do you, like, is it even acceptable to approach women anywhere now?
Not really. Not it's not acceptable if she doesn't like you. If she doesn't like you, unless she's like just an actual normal decent human being, then I guess it's fine as long as you do it in a respectful way. But she would, I think she would just rather, I think most women would rather you just not approach. That's just me, ladies. I could be fucking completely wrong on that, but let me know.
A lot of people would say you just shouldn't do it. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, then how are you going to meet women other than just mutual friends or dating apps? Like, you need that warm lead. And a lot of young guys don't have that. I feel like cold approaching is now kind of like a lost art. I've never been like that good at it. It's kind of an awkward thing to do, to just like go up and talk to a random girl. But I think that it's kind of something that is important for young guys to meet young girls. Like, if you're naturally attracted to a girl, let's be honest, like, I should have went and talked to her. Like, the chances of, her trying to make me look like a fool, or me going viral on some sort of social media.
Yeah, to be fair, you wouldn't, this whole, oh, I'm afraid I'm gonna go viral. I mean, that's like a not that's not a real thing necessarily, right? That's a fear in your brain. Um, is it possible? Sure, but all things, there's a lot of things that are possible. So yeah, he should have went up and talked to her. But the woman at the same time, though, if women do want to be approached, and I don't think that they do, but if they do want to be approached, then they have to kind of foster an environment for the man not to be put off. So, but she didn't do that. So it's because the fact of the fact of the matter is, a man, even a man like this, who again, pretty good looking dude, he has friends and shit like that, so he's gonna be fine. But women don't care as much if they're not approached in person, in my opinion, because they still are always going to have suitors online, or the guys that they're currently seeing, whereas a man is going to be in a much more of a, dare I say it, a more desperate position. So if a woman doesn't get approached at the gym, it's not really a big deal. But a man seeing a woman who he's interested in and having that opportunity, that it's like that, could very well be his only opportunity for those few days to actually talk to a woman that he finds interesting, because he can't do it online, because online, especially if he's an average guy, he's going to be shit out of luck. He's not going to get any matches. He's not going to get any DM reply backs. Like he's kind of screwed, right? So the woman doesn't so she doesn't necessarily care whether a guy like him, even if she was interested, she comes across guys who are interested in her, who she finds interesting, far more often than he will come across a woman who might be interested in him, right? So it's just, those are just that the dynamics that we're working with.
For walking up and just like introducing myself or trying to make small talk and get her number.
Mhm.
Nothing bad would have happened. I probably just kind of talked myself out of it because realistically I was nervous. But it is kind of sad that like a lot of people would say, yeah, you should definitely never approach women. Don't approach women. And you kind of see girls like sometimes being super rude to guys that do try to make a move on them. And then they'll go brag to their friends about it or whatever. There's such a barrier to entry now to trying to set up a date or trying to meet women. And I'm talking about this from a place of like privilege. I've done well with women. I've dated 3 pretty dope girls. Like I really had good experiences in my relationships. And I've had success just attracting women. Like I'm a taller guy and pretty good looking guy. So I don't want to act like I'm some sort of like, mad, like these modern women are crazy and I can't catch a date or anything. It's more just like, I feel bad for the average guys because with the entrance.
Yeah, they're cooked. Um, I- to be fair, and ladies, that y'all watching this, I mean, definitely comment, let me know what's up. But I saw on, and maybe I'll react to it, but I saw on TikTok women who do makeup to make themselves look unapproachable to men. Like they do makeup in this kind of weird, bizarre, borderline kind of, I don't want to say demonic, but they, ladies, y'all know what I'm talking about, where they put on like this really like heavy eyeshadow and like weird lipstick and designs and shit like that, so that men won't approach them. So there are, I'm not gonna say this is a majority, because I don't think it's anywhere close to majority, but there are a contingent of women who do want to make a great effort not to be appealing or not to be approachable to the opposite sex. So
Of social media and dating apps, you have, I can't catch a date or anything. It's more just like I feel bad for the average guys because with the entrance of social media and dating apps, you have to have that warm lead now. And a lot of guys will never get that warm lead, which means they'll never really have the opportunity to set up dates and go on dates and have relationships with women. It's one of the reasons I think that like we have so many young guys that are single, they've never dated, they've never had sex, they've never had a girlfriend. And it is, in my opinion, a great tragedy. I see a lot of these MGTOW guys on the internet saying that like a monk mode life is good, a monk mode life is healthy. It's not. It's not a good life to live alone, man. Like it's lonely. Like there's a reason why your body tells you something is wrong when you're lonely as hell and you've never dated, you've never felt the warmth of a woman, you've never had a girlfriend or somebody that you love. I feel like it's a really important part of life. And obviously, you open yourself up to a lot of risk when you date girls. Like, you might get heartbroken. She could cheat on you. Eventually, she could take advantage of you. And I understand, like, obviously, the divorce laws and everything like that, they're completely skewed. They screw over a lot of men. But it's so cope to just say, like, yeah, we're meant to, like, live a life alone. And, like, we
I don't think these men are saying that we're meant to live a life alone, but I do think that they are. A lot of those men are trying to make the best out of a relatively shitty situation. So it's, if you are a guy who's tried to put in a great deal of work and nothing has really kind of worked out for you, um, and I mean, maybe these guys can travel. I mean, you have the whole passport bros but besides that, I mean, like yeah, you ultimately you're right. I mean, even God said, men is, not really meant to be alone, right? That's why he brought in Eve. But I at the same time though, I don't think these guys have to only feel joy because they're with a woman. I think it's important to find joy. This is anybody. This is if you're a man or woman. Like, you have to find joy in while you are on your own anyway, right? Before you come across the person, you can't put your joy in having a spouse or a significant other, because I mean, most relationships do end, and so you can't put all your happiness chips into that. um you're right, it is a cope, but I think that sometimes copes are, if they're healthy, they're important. So I may not be able to have a girlfriend or wife, but he might have his career, he might have his family, he might have his hobbies, he might have his passions, whether it's reading, exercising, you know, building houses, traveling. So he that person will need to find joy in the many, 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 many things that life has to offer besides just being in a relationship.
don't want to get married, we're going MGTOW. That is not the way, dude. Like, you need to have relationships with women in your life to have a full and a good life. Adam and Eve were meant to be together. God saw it was not good for Adam to be alone, and he created Eve to be a helper for Adam and to keep Adam company so they can have a family. Again, like, I've had
Adam and Eve, yes, just that.
success with women, and I'm doing just fine. But it makes me sad because I feel like one of the only main reasons that I am able to do well in the modern dating scene is because I'm 6'6" and I'm a pretty good looking dude with good.
Oh yeah, you 6'6" and white. Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like having two Infinity Stones. So, I guess my question would be to this guy was, what happened to those three girls that you're in a relationship with? You know, um, but maybe he'll touch on that on another video.
Social ability, and like I have a good friend group, and that stuff all kind of ties together.
Mhm.
But a lot of young guys don't have this. Guys aren't approaching modern women because you can kind of get like shamed for it now. It's really weird. Like, a lot of people will just unapologetically say that guys should never talk to girls at the gym, never talk to girls out in public. And it's like, unless you're just meeting girls through dating apps, you're not going to have any way to meet new girls in your life. Like, that actually is not a good thing. I think it directly ties into the reason why so many guys are struggling to get girlfriends and have relationships and have
I think that a lot of people like it like this. I think a lot of people would rather these guys who are generally speaking unwanted. I think that a great contingent of society just want these men not to make these attempts to be in relationships because they're not wanted, right? So this is functioning exactly as society kind of wants it to, which is not good for the long run, but it is good in the sense that it causes these young women not to feel awkward or in possible danger or uncomfortable. So
romantic encounters with women. I just don't feel like we're made to be so isolated and alone in this life. Like, young guys are not meant to have never dated at the age of 25. And a lot of my friends, like a lot of my close friends, they've never had a girlfriend. They don't have any prospects. And it is like something that I think is really sad. I think the reason why young guys aren't really approaching young modern women now is because it's gotten to the point where a girl can be like super rude and like turned off and make a guy feel like shit. And in the worst situations now, you can go viral or something if you like approach a girl.
The whole viral thing, that's a it's a possibility, but like I said, that's not the real thing. I think the fundamental reason as to why a guy won't approach is because I mean rejection is a that's sucks, obviously. I mean that's always been the biggest reason throughout modern history when it came to dating. That was always a big reason as to why guys don't approach, is just because of the fear of rejection. That's number one. I also think that, I mean, people might want to say that, oh yeah, these young men lack confidence, right? And I can agree, but I also think that confidence needs to, and this is where I mean a lot of guys like kind of split off. I think that confidence needs to come from a place needs to come from some degree of success. And because a lot of these guys, and probably I've said this before on another video, most guys have never really been called attractive or sexy or handsome, or they haven't really been validated really at all by the opposite sex. So this is a guy, for example, who has, this is a guy who probably has, he's had, has dealt with women, and so therefore he understands that at least generally women may find him to be attractive, or what have you. Whereas most guys, it it doesn't really occur to them that a woman of the opposite sex would even be into them like that. So it's hard to derive confidence in trying to attract women when you've never had the history of being attractive to women. Like that's a really, especially as a grown man, that's a pretty hard thing to kind of that confidence is kind of hard to conjure up. And this whole thing about confidence coming from within or confidence coming from some ethereal source or whatever the fuck, like it needs to come from a place of of reality, right? I mean, this is why when you, and I'll use this scenario. This is why when you have your 4-year old play basketball for the first time, you don't have them play on a fucking 8 foot 9 foot hoop, because he would never get the ball and he would never build his confidence. But you have him play on a very very shorter hoop, so that he's able to put the ball in the hoop, and then once he's able to put the ball in the hoop, i.e. success, now he's able to build confidence based on that success, right? I mean, this is very baseline level. Um, uh, uh, this is how you build confidence. You start off small, you have small successes, and then it builds to bigger successes. When it comes to boxing or any type of sport, you got to be able to see the ball go through the hoop. You got to be able to see, you this is why in t-ball, this is why you don't just start fucking throwing pitches to kids. You start off with t-ball. You put the ball on a tee and you have the kid hit it so that he's able to see him hit the ball, and then you build from there. And for a lot of guys, they haven't had that t-ball moment of them being attractive to the opposite sex. Like a lot of these guys, believe it or not, fellas, a lot of these guys, especially these young guys, they have not had this experience at all. So I know that we can say these guys fucking don't have confidence. These guys are a bunch of pussies. Whatever you want to say about these young men, um, they have to build off of something in order to really have that. I mean, I do think that it's important for these men to have courage and approach to the opposite sex anyway. I think that's courage, but I wouldn't say that. I think it's unfair to blame that man for having confidence. I don't think that makes any sense. But we got 7 minutes left. Let's continue.
Girl, she films you, and then like people are just roasting you, and it's like a whole other level of like, you really are putting yourself out there, and it's just so whack because I don't know, technology has just made human interaction, social interaction so odd. I think that technology's done a lot of great things, but I think it's also done a lot of really bad things. I think social media and dating apps have been a net negative, like a real net negative. And I just think it's made like normal things that people have been doing for thousands of years, like going up to someone they're attracted to and trying to make small talk. And
And that's not something we've been doing for thousands of years. Mate selection has been, I mean, maybe for a few decades, but mate selection has been was way different than what it is today, right? I'm not going to go into all that, but it like approaching women is still, it's still a relatively awkward thing to do. I don't think that's how it should work. I mean, the families were a lot more involved, but like I said, neither here nor there.
maybe have a relationship down the road, or just see if you guys are even like friendly. Like if you guys are compatible, you guys can have a conversation. That has like a whole new barrier to entry now, and it's a bummer. Um, Again, I understand that like the main reason that I didn't go talk to that girl is because I was nervous, and I talked myself out of it, and I folded like a lawn chair. I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's all because of the social media and stuff, but it's just one more layer to kind of jump over. Because I think 40 years ago, nobody would have said approaching a girl at the gym is weird. And nowadays, it's seen as normal for that to be like frowned upon. And like people would say, yeah, don't do that. Like, don't go talk to girls at the gym. Don't go talk to girls at church. Where are you going to meet girls? Where are you going to meet girls if you're not meeting them at the places that you go to? You can't talk to them at work. You can't talk to them at the gym. You can't talk to them.
Work? No, I would never do. I wouldn't do that because you work there. Gym, more times than not, you probably shouldn't because it's something that you go to often. Um, I think you sometimes can make exceptions. I've approached at the gym a couple of times. One time was horrible, but uh, you know, I mean, honestly, wherever you approach is going to be a lower. It's going to be a relatively low percentage, really, anyways. But work, you can really get yourself in trouble. But what's the third thing?
Them at church.
Church, out of the three, the church is probably the best one. No, I don't even know about that.
So it's pretty much just telling guys without a warm lead, don't do anything. And it paralyzes young guys. And then the guys that aren't like really good looking or super tall or attractive or whatever, they don't really get any matches on dating apps. We've seen these statistics on this over and over and over again. And where does that leave us? It leaves us with a huge percent of guys that are single, lonely, and have never dated and have no problem.
Yeah, even if you are tall, look, I'll be honest with you. I was on Tinder recently, and it that I was on Tinder, and you know how people who actually get matches on Tinder, you know how like on the upper left hand corner you see like how many matches you've had, like so it will show you like in most women's case it'll probably show like 99 plus or some shit, or maybe it'll show like 15, 16, 17, or 50 or whatever the fuck. I didn't even have that. Like I was like, wow, this is the first time I've ever been on Tinder, and it didn't even have the amount of matches or the amount of likes that I've had. Like it was just nothing. It was like nothing for like a week. I was like, wow, like I even in like dating inflation has gotten so bad that I've there was a point where I used to get some matches, but now the standards have been elevated and now I don't even apply. Now I no matches for me. Yeah, so it's that shit is just completely cooked unless you look like, like a Hemsworth or something like that.
Prospects. I think it's whack, man. I hope to live in a society one day where people are encouraged to go talk to each other. And guess what? You're going to have some uncomfortable conversations. You're going to have some awkward moments. That's freaking life. Like, that's a part of life. It's okay to walk up to a girl and kind of realize that she's not attracted to you, or maybe she has a boyfriend, or maybe she's just like not compatible. That girl could have been some atheist, super liberal woman that would never be compatible with me, that would learn to hate me, that would see some of my videos and think that I'm some sort of like terrible influence on the young men out here. And that's completely fine. Like, it's okay to have those uncomfortable kind of interactions.
I mean, my little stupid piece of advice to any man listening to this who wants to maybe approach is, I mean, I think it's still important for you to do, but as long as you just do it respectfully, just do it respectfully. Don't push. If a woman says, "Hey, I have a boyfriend," don't, just be like, "Oh yeah, okay, all good." Have a great rest of your day. I mean, I think that as long as you go about it in a very peaceful, positive, respectful manner, that you will have overall decent interactions. I mean, sure, some women might be, might be, dare I say, bitchy, but I think that those types of women are going to be the minority. I could be wrong. I don't know.
But we kind of live in a culture and society where that's really frowned upon. I just think it's whack. I think that's one of the main reasons why young guys are not approaching anymore. And you see these girls on social media like, why aren't guys approaching? Why aren't guys? Y'all switch the whole narrative. And you guys have encouraged the fact that nobody should ever approach a woman, like never talk to a girl when she's alone. It's whack. It's weird. And it is something I've done historically. Like one of my ex girlfriends, I actually cold approached her at like a little Thanksgiving party that we had in college. Just struck up a conversation with her. We ended up going to get coffee that next week, and then we started going on some dates, and eventually she became my girlfriend. And there are people out there that would say, like, don't ever go approach a girl you don't know. So that relationship would have never happened. So if you just kind
I don't hear from men because you kept on saying that men are people are saying don't approach. I don't really hear that from people. I don't hear that you shouldn't approach, but but more so that it more than likely is a waste of time, depending upon who you are. But this whole like don't approach, I don't hear. I rarely ever. I'm not gonna say never heard that, but I rarely ever hear that.
of like generally go by the rules of society as a young man, you know, you're a good little boy. You go get your degree, you go get your corporate job. You never talk to girls, you never make anybody feel uncomfortable. You do exactly what the government tells you to do all the time. It's not going to be a great life for you, and nobody's going to give you any sympathy either. So, march to the beat of your own drum and follow your instincts. Society's a lot harder on young men than it has been historically. I think that there's a lot of things that are skewed against us today. But at the same time, the only thing that we can control is what we can control. And I want to encourage you guys to keep talking to girls, keep talking to your friends, get out there and have some social interaction, go to the gym, go to church, make friends, talk to girls when the opportunity arises. Again, I'm going to feel terrible if somebody's like, yeah, I followed your advice and I'm viral now on TikTok for approaching a
Mhm.
girl. I'm not telling you to go be like reckless or crazy or anything, but
Yeah, definitely have some discernment. I mean, it's even if you see a woman, I know this happens. This I'm pretty good at this, where you might see an attractive woman and you see a dude who you know as like let's say you're in a supermarket, you see an attractive woman and you see a dude kind of in your orbit who you can kind of recognize as an attractive dude. Just wait a couple minutes because often that dude is there with that woman. Now, this has happened to me a number of times where I will see like a dude and I'm like, I see a woman, I'm like, I'm willing to bet that they're together. Oh, and they are. They're leaving together. So definitely try to be have some awareness, make sure the woman is not alone, but just make sure that she's not there with, like a significant other or something like that before you just go out and approach. If you can, make sure to see if she has a ring on her finger. If she is there, and this is a little bit harder, if she's there with a friend, whether it's a female friend or a male friend, um, but make sure to not just acknowledge her but also acknowledge her friend. Just again, be a normal person, be respectful, be kind, friendly, complimentary. Don't comment about, don't say anything sexually that's weird or anything like that. Simple stuff. I'm not a dating coach, or fucking far from it, but that's just my little tidbit, right?
I personally think that it's a good thing if guys are encouraged to go out there and be the masculine man and go take initiative and talk to girls they're attracted to. And I hope that next time this situation happens to me, I have the nuts to actually go do something about it, because it's just whack to think that like social media and dating apps have skewed stuff to a point where taking any sort of risk to make a girl like a tiny bit uncomfortable or put yourself in an awkward situation is such a terrible thing. It's not, dude. Like, it's just not. Society's whacked. Where did it all go wrong, man? Like, this is not how we're supposed to be. It's really not. I'm cheering for you. I want you to know, like, I really do want the best for you. But I'm not your friend, so don't, like, use this as a parasocial relationship. Go out, make friends, hang out with your buddies, get involved in community, and just realize, no, things are kind of whack. We can control going to the gym 5 times a week. We can control.
Yeah. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, y'all. Pretty good video. I didn't really learn anything new, to be honest, but I hope maybe that you did. So please be sure to like and subscribe to Jenner's channel if you find his stuff to be interesting, and we'll see you next time.